Sal Pizzi, 35 Trenton Avenue. I'd like to read an editorial from the Sentinel that on May 21st. A redevelopment agency must handle with care by the township. While we are not totally against the idea of an independent redevelopment agency for Edison Township, such a thing must be approached with extreme caution. Yes, there can certainly be benefits to having an independent agency, both economic and civic. Edison is becoming a city like by the day, and as open space dwindles, a dedicated body to handle redevelopment issues might be worth looking into. However, at the same time, attention must, we cannot emphasize this enough, must be paid to the fact that there's a lot of ways for this to go wrong as well. The township could potentially be unleashing a Frankenstein monster upon the residents. If the people thought Boris Karloff monster was frightening, imagine if it also had the ability to bond without limits, extend credit without oversight, and seize property through eminent domain. Sure, like the monster, it would probably be good-natured at heart, but also like the monster, it could cause massive harm, and inadvertently, simply by virtue of vast powers it would wield. Essentially, under the ordinance current language, the redevelopment agency would have the ability to act like any other branch of the township government, separate from the council or the administration. We don't think this is wise and would recommend that the agency more powerful abilities be kept in check. I would ask this council to review the bonding requirements and put in there that any bonding requirement must come before the council before approval. I think Mr. Baumann addressed the eminent domain, which is the other concern, but if we can put the bonding requirements coming back to you for a vote, that would at least keep the integrity of the finances still with the council. And I hope you would consider this. You tabled this ordinance 2 weeks ago, a month ago, with the hope that you would talk about this, and some of these concerns came up within the council. I don't know if you did talk it out, but I hope you'll consider tonight, and I would ask through the chair, Mr. Baumann, if we can do this, and would that be substantive?
Let me try and address it was a newspaper article or that raised a number of issues, and I think I'm going to take a few minutes to go backwards and make a small sort of beginning from the beginning to where we are, because I believe that there's only part of the law is being read by perhaps that newspaper writer or others, and it's a long statute, and it has a number of provisions, and the fact is the redevelopment agency, while it has a list fairly long of enumerated powers that are not unlike what the township has, at the end of the day, on a project-by-project basis, those powers are ultimately dictated by what the redevelopment plan would say, which has to be approved by this council. So, for example, in the arts redevelopment plan, I'll use that as an example because we're all familiar with it, it says you can't put housing in the project. So if this council was to be addressing a new redevelopment project and they didn't want housing, the train station, and the council adopted a plan that said no housing, there would be no housing. If the council adopted the plan that there is no land to be acquired, there'll be no land to be acquired. So on a case, the redevelopment agency is designed so that on a case-by-case basis, a project-by-project basis, all of which are unique and complicated and difficult, that this council decides and establishes a plan for that agency to implement. The agency is an implementing agency. It's an agency designed to carry out redevelopment projects that this council has approved and directed them to carry out. There's even a provision in the law, which I've shared with you, that says that if the agency is not complying with our plan, or if they're not affirmatively acting in accordance with our plan, or if they're violating it, we can call them to task and stop that from occurring, not to mention require them to give us reports and ongoing information. So I hear the concern, I hear what the article is saying, but the law has built into it a mechanism for you to control them on a project-by-project basis. And I think probably what the author might have been getting at is just that. After the agency is created and the first project comes along, review that plan carefully, analyze it, make sure that the plan you send to them to implement has been carefully thought out by this council, and for the plan and each plan thereafter. And so in terms of amending the ordinance, it's not that you can't make non-substantive changes or repeat what the law already says. It just strikes me that the way to do that is going to be on a project-by-project basis. When you know what the project is and you want to make a decision about, perhaps there'll be a project where you'll think that extending credit is a good idea. Or perhaps there'll be a project where you'll think they're going to do a bond issue, but it'll be not secured by the town. We've done projects where the end user is going to use the agency to bond, non-recourse to the town or to the agency, and it's a good idea, and the agency collects a fee for it, and it furthers the redevelopment project, and you may think at that time that that's a good idea. My point is just that you should reserve to yourselves and future council members that decision on a case-by-case basis, because every case, I can tell you, of redevelopment is dramatically different than the one before it and the one that comes after it, because it's complicated, because it's difficult, and because it brings out this kind of passion from people. And again, the council will have the ability to have that plan. The agency implements your plan, and again, to the author and to Mr. Pizzi, I think on a case-by-case basis, the caution to you is draft your plan carefully, make sure you've directed the planning agency appropriately, and then keep an eye on them through the statute as you're permitted to, through reporting and other requirements, to get the result you want, not necessarily through the creation ordinance.
Mr. Pizzi, you have more time because
I appreciate that. I just want to ask a direct question, and I understand the background that you gave, and I appreciate that. But can there be a statement in the ordinance saying that any bonding requirements must come before the council for approval?
I think they could put that in, yes.
And that's not substantive, it can be done tonight?
That's a tougher one, because I'm not so sure. The eminent domain repeats what I believe the law to be today. The bonding coming before the council doesn't necessarily repeat what the law is, because, as I indicated, there could be, in theory, a bond issue that is being issued that is non-recourse, meaning the taxpayers are not liable for it, the agencies are not liable. Let me give you another example. The New Jersey Economic Development Authority regularly and routinely, on behalf of towns throughout the state, issues debt on behalf of private entities. It's not recourse to the agency. It's not recourse to the state of New Jersey. If you wanted to do something that was consistent with the statute, you would probably say that if they have going to issue bonds for which the township will be liable, then they need township council approval. Because that's the facts. So if you wanted to repeat that, that would not be a substantive change.
I urge that you, council members, take that advice that he just gave you and put that in as the language, so that anything that the township would be liable for, as far as bonding, and that would be any bonds, really, that it has to come before the council for approval. And I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pizzi. Marianne?